What are we going to do now that football season's over?
I think we do fun facts because I think there's fun facts in sports that we can do. You know what? I saw on TV, 10-year anniversary, Dale Earnhardt dying at Daytona 500. That's this week.
That's not a fun fact. It's kind of a depressing fact.
I didn't think through the whole fun fact thing, but I'm still sticking to the idea. Meares, Daytona 500, expand into sports racing. Sports racing? Sports car racing? Cars and sports racing.
Could be. You know what? I'm going to have to do some research, but that's what I'm good at. I think we should do it.
I'm not going to do research because I'm a genius. I don't have to. Welcome to the Meares Show. I'm Mo.
Meares.
NASCAR edition. This Sunday, Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of NASCAR.
Incredible.
They start their season off with their Super Bowl because they want the entire off season to prepare for it. And not just 1 week or 2 weeks, all 4 weeks of the off season.
Yeah, they have a short off season.
Very short.
I can't wait to see who's going to perform at halftime. I'm very excited about that.
No halftime at this Super Bowl, brother.
What?
I don't think you did your research. You sound like me about football.
Oh, I did not read those articles correctly. Well, since obviously you're the expert at NASCAR, I was the expert at the NFL. What do you think's going to happen this year, both at the Daytona 500 and then going forward in the NASCAR season?
Well, let's start with the Daytona 500. Last year, disaster from a TV standpoint, a disaster from a race standpoint as far as track condition. Delay after delay after delay. They were putting like putty in potholes that delayed the race for hours on end.
It was like every New Jersey road that I've ever driven on.
The answer to it was to pave the racetrack. And now, because they paved it and it's so smooth, the speeds are so fast that the safety of the race is in question. They're trying to change the rules going into Sunday's race to slow the cars down.
That's awesome.
They're exceeding 205 miles an hour in this two-car tandem that has been set by having a smoother racetrack.
And I believe I heard that the front row has been set with Earnhardt and Gordon, but I don't understand the whole rest of the setting of the field. Can you explain that?
What happens in the Daytona 500, unlike any other race, you qualify the entire field, and the top two cars are set on the front row. The rest of the order of the field is set on two races tomorrow on Thursday. So the finishing of however people finish in that race is how the field is set. So you could have qualified the third fastest, and if you wreck on the first lap tomorrow, you're starting back 40, 41, 42.
Oh, that's brutal.
So the key thing is you got two icons in the sport, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., both in race-winning droughts. Earnhardt Jr. has won the race at least once.
Right, he won one time.
And Gordon a three-time winner. But they're on droughts, and they're leading the race out in the front row. So that's a big story. And they're both teammates, and they're on Jimmy Johnson's team, Hendrick Motorsports. They're driving Chevy. Chevy's the fastest car alone on the racetrack all week in qualifying and testing.
So with what you said with the tandems, if the race starts and they get out together and are bump drafting all the way through the race, I mean, they could just pull out to a ridiculous lead.
In theory, I mean, you pull out to a big lead, basically you're going to have pit stops, things are going to change. There's a lot of strategy. Tire wear is not a problem. There's no talk of tires this week for the first time in the history of a NASCAR race, I believe.
Oh, all right.
Tires have been such an issue, but with the new track, there are no... You're going to have no tire changes at the end. You're going to have 2 tire changes at the end, and you're going to have the leaders maybe taking 4 when it's not necessary. So there's going to be a lot of play in order to be able to catch up late in the race.
Well, let me give you the casual fans' prediction for the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
I am a big Carl Edwards fan. He finished last season winning the last 2 races. He's got momentum since the offseason's only like 3 minutes long. It feels like he just won. So I think he's going to come in. He's got a great team in Roush. He's got Biff on his side. He's got Kenseth on his side. I like those guys to get together, push him to the front. I think Carl Edwards wins, and I think he does a flip for the first time ever at the Daytona 500.
It's a backflip.
Right, a backflip.
A flip is a forward flip.
Whatever.
A backflip is a backflip.
He's going to friggin' flip.
What's going to happen? Here's what I think is going to happen. Daytona's tough to pick a winner because you can get caught up in the big one. They call the wreck the big one. And your guy could just go out. But if this guy doesn't get caught up in a wreck, I got Mark Martin being a Hendrick car,
Wow.
the fastest car, has never won the Daytona 500. And if anybody out of the 43 drivers on the racetrack is going to have somebody selflessly help him to a victory, it's going to be Mark Martin. He's going to be my pick as the winner for this race, because what happens if you're going to choose whether or not to wreck somebody to win a race, if you're going to push somebody to a victory, that's a guy that all other 42 race car drivers would help. And if he makes it through, he's got the equipment to do it with the fastest car, with the Chevy and the Hendricks.
It's a shame they don't have a senior division, because he would definitely win that. Isn't he like 62?
He could kick both our asses with one hand tied on his back. And the dude's like 5'4". He's like a jockey.
Well, we got Jimmy Johnson, 5 in a row. 5-point championships in a row, going for number 6. I don't think he's going to do it. If he does do it, I think you should test him for HGH. I don't know how that helps you in NASCAR, but there's no way somebody can dominate a sport like this. I don't think he's going to do it. I like Carl Edwards to win Daytona, win the point championship. What's your take on the entire season? Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, the HGH actually does factor in, because if I hear one more time that Jimmy Johnson's workout program has made the rest of the drivers change their patterns. Kyle Busch lost 15 pounds in the offseason and got married, and they're talking about a new Kyle Busch, which we've heard over and over and over. But this whole workout theme, it is grueling to get in the car in the middle of the summer when it's 80 degrees and drive for 500 miles in a fire suit.
That's true.
And if you're air conditioning, they have the little air in the helmet. There's times that breaks down at the beginning of the race, or you save power with the car by turning it off. You do need to be physically fit. So that the fitness part of the race, of the racing, actually does factor. But as far as what I think is going to happen, I don't think Jimmy Johnson can win 6, but I don't think he can win 5 either.
Right.
But if I were going to pick somebody, I think it's going to be somebody from Rouse Racing. It's kind of a year where I think you're going to have like a Matt Kenseth. He's going to have a baby at the beginning of the year. And everybody who's had babies, they've been like, oh, it's going to distract them. They've all done well. Kenseth has won a points championship before. He's won a Daytona 500 before. And I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to contend. And I think he's the type of personality that can come down the stretch and beat him. That's going to be my pick. Well, that's our first off-season show. We'll have to revisit the NASCAR season halfway through to see how we're making out with our season predictions, how we made out with our Daytona predictions.
Well, let's hope you do better than that than he did in football.
In the meantime, we have college basketball coming up with March Madness.
Yes.
We have the Masters. We have Triple Crown, if there's a possibility for that.
Don't forget about the NHL playoffs.
We got those coming up. NBA's hanging out there, too. The beginning of the baseball season, if anything happens there. We got the NFL lockout, if anything goes on there. Stay tuned to www.molemeares.com. Search for us on YouTube and subscribe.
And we'll see you later.
See you.